my top 10 antagonists. Not gonna lie, it was pretty hard picking the characters that I would be putting on the list, but I just decided to get all the ones that I really love and prefer over others. So it's not really a ranking on antagonists least best to best, but just ranking ones that I liked the most and left a good impact on me. So I'm pretty sure this list won't be similar to other people, as this of course will be really biased, but I hope you enjoyed the video nevertheless. I'll do some honorable mentions before I get into the video, so I can name some ones that couldn't make it to the list but are still really good. I also won't be saying anything that would include of spoilers when talking about the antagonists, so don't be hesitant to view the ones you haven't seen yet. But right before I get into the video, subscribe if you haven't, hit the like button, turn on bell notifications, and follow my Twitter down below. Now without further ado, let's get into the video. Now firstly, before I get into my top 10 list, I have some honorable mentions that I like a lot, but not as much as the ones in my top 10. I have Furuta, both Katakuri and Doflamingo, Hisoka, Pucci, Dio, and Oikawa. I was thinking Kaiki should be on here, but I don't really count him as an antagonist, but as a character he's definitely top 5, so I'll leave him for now. Now that I've gone through them, let's get into the actual list. At my number 10 spot, I have Ushino Ogi from the Monogatari series. Ogi was an antagonist that set the most chilling atmosphere for Monogatari. In almost all of the scenes she's in, there's always going to be some strange yet amazing visuals following on, and it just doesn't disappoint, as this represents Ogi's character. Ogi was pretty much an enigma in many different ways. We knew something was up with her, but of course we didn't know what she was operating behind the scenes. And we wouldn't know who exactly she was until near the end of the series. The payoff of that definitely didn't disappoint. The perfect contrast she has with Aragi and the interesting yet unexpected relationships she has made with the characters in Monogatari was different to see for antagonists. But also seeing her kind of being the mastermind for many problems in Monogatari, yet still keeping that perfect dynamic with Aragi was just too good. Ogi was just a fun and interesting antagonist that held some of the most entertaining scenes in Mono, and I think she's deserving of that spot. Onto number 9, I have Sosuke Aizen from Bleach. Aizen was just that guy. He was amazing in Bleach, and his impact on the series was really great. He's the mastermind, the planner, the one behind everything, and the one who tries to excel at everything just to get to the top. He's basically someone who strongly knows they're the best and actually backs that up, giving us a total one-sided battle in the series, really making Aizen look good. There's just something with an overpowered villain having a compelling motive and doing anything they have to do to get to that goal, while rising to the top as well. I even ended up rooting for Aizen at times just because he was so entertaining to see, and his crazy ability makes it even better to watch. I also like how he's just evil. There's no backing up for it with a sob story. He just does all that he wants, showing the lengths that he has to go through to finally attain that absolute godhood he craves. Aizen also had a pretty nice dynamic with Ichigo, nothing too drastic but nice, and their fight together was surprisingly great for me. This guy was just really cool to watch, and as a shonen antagonist, I view him quite high above the rest in that demographic. In my number 8 spot, I have the King of Heroes, Gilgamesh. In the many different variations of his character, I find Fate Zero Gilgamesh the best one, as I really like seeing his views on what a true king is. Unlimited blade work skill was pretty good, and was actually the reason I got into his character in the first place, but he really didn't shine in that one all too much. For Heaven's Feel Gil, I really have nothing to say, as he didn't have a lot of screen time in that route, but let's talk about why I love him as an antagonist in the Fate series. His god complex is probably the best I've seen in anime, not gonna lie. He not only knows he's the best or completely backs it up, he's a literal king and pretty much has every right to be respected rather than looked down upon, which kind of explains his arrogance against the many different characters he went up against, and sadly that arrogance gave a gateway to something pretty bad for him. Not gonna spoil of course though. He holds back in every possible way, deeming the so-called people that are below him not worthy of seeing his true powers, but the people he respects have every right to observe his most prized move in his arsenal. Talking about the people he respects, the relationships he makes with other characters are always so fun to watch. As we know he has a god complex, it's shocking to see him actually talking to people casually, and when he does, it really strengthens his character to make him a lot more likable. Antagonistic wise, he's a great foil for Shiro and Saber, clashing with Saber's ideals and finding his own weakness through Shiro. Gilgamesh is just an overall amazing character, and it was cool to see him take part in each Holy Grail war. In my number 7 spot, I have another king, this time the king of ants, Meruem. Meruem is just one of those shonen antagonists that you know will always be near the top. Togashi did a great way of crafting Meruem's character, growing from a naive, cold-hearted villain to a more thoughtful and developed one. Seeing Meruem's journey in the Chimera Ant arc, while seeing the troubles Gon was going through, making them slowly become the opposites of one another, was just an amazing sight to see. And the thing that's crazy while talking about these two characters is that they both didn't even meet each other once in the whole entire arc, yet it had shown such a great parallel between the two of them. Seeing Meruem develop and gain an understanding of the world whilst finding out what he wants now is all around perfect for an antagonist like this. He's just able to give an extremely great impact on the viewer, and the conclusion of his character is something I'll never forget. On my number 6 spot, I have another fate character, which is none other than the vile priest himself, Kotomine Kirei. This guy was just so shocking to me. I was just so surprised by how much I ended up liking his character, but of course there's a reason for that. This guy was born evil. He didn't know anything about this, but he was just born with the inability of seeing anything good in basically anything that's good. This probably might be seen as sad, as he didn't have the privilege of enjoying things like a normal person, but was it sad for Kirei? Nah, I don't think it was. Seeing his journey to find out what really gives him a nice feeling was so compelling. He tried many different things, even marrying someone, yet he couldn't find the joy in that as well. But when that person he had married killed themselves in front of his eyes, did he shed a tear? Well, he did, but he wasn't crying because the person had killed themselves. He was crying because he wasn't able to kill them himself. This event that had occurred in his life gave him a slight understanding on what had pleased him, misfortune. Further down the line, he became a master in the Holy Grail War, so he seeks out more of an understanding on what pleases him, which he eventually does. And then years later, he meets Emiya Shiro. His dynamic with Shiro was insane, as they're both two sides of the same coin, both broken yet driven by their own ideals. Kirei is just an overall great antagonist in anime, and he just surpassed my expectations of him. In my number 5 spot, I have Askeladd from Vinland Saga. It was pretty tough seeing whether Kirei or Askeladd would be in my number 5 spot, but I ended up with Askeladd there as he outclassed him because of his amazing entertaining personality. They're both really close though. Askeladd was just crazy, from his Viking ideals and behavior to his overall dynamic with Thorfinn that exceeded even past the prologue arc. He not only was a foil to Thorfinn, but helped him grow and develop through ways that are seen above many development scenarios in other anime and manga. Askeladd's impact on the characters of Vinland Saga is just one of the main reasons he's such a great character, but while not talking about his impact, the fun personality he has, contrasting with his more serious one, was just something that I like to see while reading. From his backstory to his secret motives and his strong suit as a leader adds to all of these aspects, which strengthen Askeladd's role as an antagonist. Also, he's one of those characters that got me invested into him from the get-go. In my number 4 spot, I have the silent, calculating serial killer Johan Liebert from Monster. I think at this point the antagonists above and Johan altogether are close for me. Johan was just a very cool representation of a character having nihilistic views in life, and him having the dynamic with Dr. Tenma, the protagonist of Monster, was just too good. The dynamic is easily a top 5 one, and I can't really see it being easily beaten by other ones. In Johan's case as an antagonist, it's not just the confrontations that add to his character, but the overall control he has on the story while being in the background. I'm pretty sure almost all of the problems caused in Monster all come back to Johan in some way, and of course the problems Tenma faces obviously revolves around Johan. I love how the Nameless Monster book is incorporated in the story as a parallel to Johan's life, and I think Urasawa did a great way of executing the overall creation of the killer named Johan Liebert. In my number 3 spot, I have Funny Valentine from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Funny Valentine is someone that took time to shine as a villain in the story of Steel Ball Run, and when he did, he really became one of the greatest. The patriotism he succeeds in as his main force and drive to take combat into being an antagonist was done very well, and Araki made it easy to understand who Funny Valentine really is. As the President of the United States of America, Valentine is set to take duty into protecting his country in every way possible, even if he has to be pushed to secure the corpse parts of Jesus himself. Even when making a deal with someone to get the parts, his country comes first, and it shows how much Funny Valentine cares about it, and when you know this, you just have to respect his work. His standability is great as well, but it may seem confusing to people at first. Well, it happened to me at least, but once you come around and understand it, it's just so fun to see D4C going crazy on everyone in the story. Funny Valentine is also a perfect rival for Johnny Joestar, as Funny Valentine is someone who cares about a whole country, whilst Johnny pretty much only cares about himself until he met Gyro at least. So in my number 2 spot, I have Yoshikage Kira. I'm still surprised to this day by how good of a character and antagonist, not just to Josuke, but the whole of Morio. Kira shines in every way possible for me. From standability design wise, his music choice, and how well executed he is as a serial killer in a crazy noisy bizarre town. He is insanely humanly normal, yet a sadistic monster at the same time. He's just your everyday person in a town. He has a job, a home, and a life so normal that you wouldn't expect to find the heart of a killer inside of him. Kira is ordinary, making him relatable to many people, just excluding the serial killer parts of course. He struggles, copes with things he can't control, and tries to live a quiet life without any troubles that would make him restless at night. But when he's not acting like the everyday person, when he's a serial killer, he shows the true Kira Yoshikage to the many victims he has come across. He can't control these urges, so he embraces it as his true self and nature. And in all of the killings he doesn't perceive himself as evil, which is crazy, but it just adds on to his normal lifestyle. He's terrifying, he's hilarious, he's stylish, he's smart, and on top of all of these traits, he still thinks he's normal and still thinks that it's the way to live that quiet life. Kira is just so great to me, and I love how Araki managed his characteristics and subtle development. So right now, let's get into my number 1 antagonist. At number 1, I have none other than Griffith from Berserk. Griffith is sometimes known as the greatest in anime and manga, and I can easily see that. He's great. He has an interesting goal which is sought out in compelling ways, a dynamic with guts that is easily beyond other dynamics that I've seen in anime and manga, and he has a great design to contrast with guts as well. The Golden Age arc lets us grow with Griffith and see his hated ambition get him closer to that castle. As a character, Griffith is hated by many, which easily means he has done his job well as an antagonist, and impacted upon many readers with the choices he has made. The biggest thing that made me love Griffith is his determination. Also him realizing and accepting the price he has to make to gain the goal he craves. Griffith is the go-to villain when you think about the most compelling antagonist in anime and manga, and thank you Miura for creating this amazing character. So that's where I'm going to end it off for today. Hopefully you did enjoy. Make sure to go in the comments below and give your top 10 as well, as that would be cool to see. So like always, subscribe if you're new, hit the like button, turn on bell notifications, and follow my Twitter down below. It's been Endless Requiem, peace.